What up, you lab rats? This is episode number 77, and today, here on Throwback Thursday, we're going to throw it back to a time where for 6 months after I quit my job, I didn't do jack shit. Here's why. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Lab Rat Dailies, my friends. This is the in-between show on the main show of the Get in the Lab podcast with Kevin and I on Wednesday, talking about building a business together. And here on the Lab Rat Dailies, it's a daily show. It's you and me. Every day has a theme, and today's theme on Thursday is, of course, Throwback Thursday. Throw it up. Okay, so today I want to talk to you guys about when I first quit my job in corporate, and I was a hazmat inspector, and I was like, that's it. I'm not going to do this anymore. You know, taxes are unconstitutional, and I want to do something that I love. And so I was super activated. I had just read 4 Hour Work Week, and I quit like 2 weeks after reading that. And I had I had some savings in my account, and I had my kind of retirement fund at 24 or 23 or whatever the age I was at that time. And then for 6 months, I did nothing. I didn't write. I didn't create video. I tried to, but it was shit. During that time, I want to kind of share my experience, because for somebody who totally changes, does a 180 about their life and totally, leaves the world that they were raised to do, they were training to do, or they were supposed to do, right? And leaving that world and that person behind kind of needed to take a sort of mourning period. By that I mean that person that I was had to die. And it wasn't instant. It wasn't like I quit my job, I'm, born again entrepreneur. It was actually a series of things that had to take place for me personally in order for me to do the self-dev to get to where I am today. And for 6 months, guys, I did nothing. I didn't create any content. And the only thing that I was doing was just reading, watching, being a bystander, reading a lot, watching a lot of things. I think I bought during that time David Siteman Garland's like how to do an interview show or something like that, and I just watched it. And then I didn't do anything about it. And for 6 months, guys, it's probably more or less, whatever. But for 6 months, I remember just doing nothing. I would wake up in a sort of daze and sort of read things and social and kind of just coast on my savings that I had. And I just needed to kind of let that old self die so that this new person can come up. And I want to share this experience because I think somebody like me who left that old world, that old self behind and needed to let that die, you need to know that that's okay. That's okay. And the people around you, though, they won't get that. They won't get why you're just lying around. They won't get why you're trying to just kind of figure shit out and kind of just deal with the weight of the fact that, holy crap, now what do I do? Right? So there's a sort of transition period that you go through. And I would say if I were to go back, or if I were to say if somebody was going through that right now, and you're going through that sort of transition period, is to really start to over communicate to the ones that care about you. Because the moment you shut up and don't say anything, and you kind of just keep to yourself because you're afraid to say that you don't know what you're doing, it makes everybody else feel that you're going nowhere. And that's a very uneasy sort of feeling to deal with and to sleep with and to not talk about. And so when I was going through that, I wasn't communicating anything to Kevin. In fact, I felt entitled that he should just understand without me even saying anything. He should just understand as a pre-husband and me as a pre-wife. Just understand, just support me. And you know what? That's a little bit selfish and really actually unrealistic. And if I could go back, I'm not saying that I regret anything, but if you're going through that situation where it's like you feel in in a state of lull, in a state of unproductivity, and just laying on your ass, basically. That's okay. I think that's okay, as long as you're doing these kinds of things in the background that are setting you up, that are building up your foundation. And even if you're not, and you just kind of need a moment or a couple of months, or a moment, to just let that old thing die, to mourn it. That old person, that old version of yourself, that thing has to die and kind of disintegrate and become ashes. And through that comes this new person, and all the while, reading, educating yourself, asking yourself the big questions. Yeah, what are you going to do with your life? How are you going to contribute to, if you're in a relationship, how are you going to contribute to that relationship if that means of generating income is no longer there? How are you going to support your partner during that time when you can't support financially? Do you know what I'm saying? So you need to kind of go through this transition period, and it is very painful. I think at that time, that was where I felt the most pressure in our relationship with Kevin and I, because I felt like he didn't understand. But the issue was he didn't understand because I didn't allow him to understand. I didn't create an environment for him to understand until I started to understand how to influence people, and over communicating what I was going through, what I was doing, what my plans were. And so the most hurtful thing that you could do, and the most detrimental thing that you can do during this time of transition, is to not communicate what's going on in here. Even if it doesn't make any sense, there has to be some kind of over communication there. And I say over communication because we think we're communicating, but actually we're not. And so you can never communicate too much, right? Until that person says, okay, you told me that like how many times, and they are fully supportive of you. So when you're doing jack shit for months or whatever on end, and you kind of feel guilty about it or whatever, and perhaps your partner is looking at you like, why don't you freaking do something? That's okay. I think there's still a way to come back from that before it starts to slowly poison certain things of your relationship. So take an active stance in how, you are going to handle this transition period from, I used to do that. That's who I was. That's gone now. What am I going to do now? And how am I going to move on? And how am I going to be better? And how am I going to be happy? And how are the people in my life going to adjust to that and be happy right along with me? All right. So that was today's episode, guys. I I try to keep these a little bit more conversational, not so much of this because I don't like that. So good things. Counting down the days, guys. Counting down the days. Today's Thursday. That means I'm probably getting really, really, really nervous, but in a good way, about my talk at Podcast San Diego, where I'm going to be joining my friends Omar and Nicole, Kate Erickson from Entrepreneur on Fire. Who else is going to be there? Jared Easley, Dan Franks, new friends, Shannon Hernandez. I forget the last name. Anthony. Who else can I give a shout out to? So many names. Sorry. It's like an Oscar acceptance speech when you forget everything. So good things, guys. The weekend after that, I'm going to be in San Diego once again for SSS Live with Amy Schmidauer and her live event about vlogging and vlogging for business. Super excited. I can't wait to meet you if you are going. You can find all the links in the description to these things. And good things, guys. So we'll see you next time here on the Lab Rat Dailies for Good Shit Friday. And once again, my name is Megan, reminding you to get in the lab. We'll see you. Peace out. Really quickly, guys, for Saturday's episode, which is usually the Weekend Warrior here on Lab Rat Dailies, I'm not going to be putting out a formal episode during that time. However, since I'm going to be speaking at Podcast San Diego, I'm going to be live streaming the whole thing on Meerkat. So if you're interested in that, just know that I'm not going to be putting out a formal episode on that Saturday because I'll be live streaming it on Meerkat. So follow me on Meerkat, and you can find the link or the annotation or whatever in the description or here or whatever during that time. So I'll be live streaming the whole thing, and hopefully my iPhone can take all of that storage. So good things, guys. And just a reminder, follow me on Meerkat. Okay, see you. Bye.